Chapter 1. The Old Pirate at the Admiral Benbow. My name is Jim Hawkins, and I'm going to tell you the story of Treasure Island. It began when I was a boy. My father had an inn by the sea called the Admiral Benbow. One day an old seaman arrived with a big sea chest. He was tall and strong. "Bring me a glass of rum," he said to my father. "Are there many people here?" My father said no. "Good, I'll stay here. You can call me Captain. Take my chest up to my room." Every day he went to the cliffs and looked at the sea with his telescope. And every day he asked us, "Do you sometimes notice any seamen here?" We began to understand that he didn't want to meet any seamen. One day he said to me, "Tell me when you see a seaman with one leg, and I'll give you some money." Sometimes the old captain drank a lot of rum. Then he sang, and he told us some horrible stories. He didn't pay us any money, so my poor father was unhappy, and he became ill. One afternoon, Dr. Livesey came to see him. In the evening, the doctor smoked his pipe with some friends. The old captain was there. "Silence," he said. "I'm going to tell you a story." "Are you talking to me, sir?" said Dr. Livesey angrily. "Yes." "You drink too much rum, sir," said the doctor. "One day you will die." The angry captain took a knife from his pocket. "Put that knife back in your pocket," the doctor said calmly, "or you will be arrested. I am also a magistrate." The captain put the knife in his pocket and sat down. He was very quiet that evening. That winter was cold and my father became worse. One morning in January, a seaman arrived. "Is there a man called Bill here?" he asked. I said there was only the captain, and he was on the beach. Then the man waited behind the door, so when the captain came in, he didn't see him. "Bill!" The captain looked round quickly. His face was white. "You know me, Bill," the man said. "We're old friends." "Black Dog." "Yes, I've come to see you." "What do you want?" They sat at the table with some rum. The door was open, and Black Dog sat near it. I couldn't hear their conversation. Then there was a lot of noise, and the table and chairs fell over. I saw Black Dog with blood on his shoulder. Then he ran out of the door. The captain's cutlass had blood on it. "Bring me some rum, Jim," he said. When I came back with the rum, the captain was on the floor. His eyes were closed and his face was very white. Then Dr. Livesey arrived to see my father. He looked at the captain and said, "He drinks too much rum, and so he's ill." Then he showed me a tattoo on the captain's arm. "Look, his name is written here," he said. "Billy Bones." After a few moments, the captain opened his eyes. "Now, Mr. Bones, don't drink rum again or you'll die," the doctor told him. We took him upstairs to his room and put him in his bed. At 12 o'clock, I went into his room with some medicine, but he said that he wanted a glass of rum. "But the doctor," I began. "Oh, the doctor! What does he know about me? Bring me one glass of rum, Jim, and I'll give you some money." "I don't want your money," I said. But I brought the rum. "How long must I stay in bed, Jim?" "The doctor says a week." "But they know where I am now and they'll come. They'll come. They want to kill me and take my sea chest. Jim, did you see that Black Dog today? He's a bad man, but the others are very bad, and they want my sea chest. You see, they are old Captain Flint's men, and they want to know where his treasure is. They're going to give me the black spot." "What's the black spot?" I asked. They always give you the black spot before they kill you." That evening, my poor father died. For a few days, my mother, and were very busy, and we didn't think much about the captain. The day after my father's funeral, a blind man with a stick stopped outside the inn and asked me if it was called the Admiral Benbow. I said yes. "Will you give me your hand, my young friend, and take me into the inn?" When I gave him my hand, he pulled me to him quickly. "Now, boy, take me to the captain." "I can't, sir," I said. "Oh, take me or I'll break your arm." His voice was cold and cruel. I was very afraid of him, and I took him to the captain. The poor old pirate was very afraid too. "Now give me your left hand, Bill," the blind man said, and he put something in the captain's hand. Then he went out of the inn very fast. The captain looked at his left hand. There was a piece of paper with a black spot on it. 10 o'clock. They're coming at 10 and they'll kill me. We've got 6 hours, Jim. We've still got time." The captain tried to stand up, but just then he put his hand to his heart and fell on the floor. I ran to help him, but he was dead. Chapter 2. The Sea Chest. Now my mother and I decided to go to the village for help. When we arrived, the people didn't want to return with us to the inn. They were too afraid. My mother said angrily, "Jim, we'll go back. We'll open the captain's sea chest S and take our money." So a boy from the village went to find Dr. Livesey, and my mother and I went back to the Admiral Benbow. I locked the door. The dead captain was still on the floor. "We must find the key and open the chest," said my mother. I looked at the piece of paper near his hand. There was a message on it. "We're coming tonight at 10. I looked at the clock. It was 6. "We've got 4 hours, Mother," I said. I found the key in the captain's pocket. We went upstairs to his room and my mother opened the chest. Inside there was a packet of papers and a bag. In the bag we found a lot of money, and my mother started to count it. But then I heard the sound of the blind man's stick on the road. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. Then he went away. "We must go, Mother," I said. "He'll tell the other men, and they'll come here." "No," she answered. "It's only 7 o'clock. The captain must pay the correct money for his stay with us." And she continued to count the money. But soon we heard the voices of the pirates. We took some money and the packet of papers, and we ran out of the inn. Suddenly my mother stopped. "My dear, I can't run." "Oh, Mother," I said angrily, "why did you count all that money? Now they're going to kill us." Then she fell on my shoulder. Fortunately, we were near a little bridge. "Come, Mother," I said. "There's a bridge. We'll go under it, and the pirates won't see us." But I went back and stood behind a tree. I could see the road in front of our inn. Some men arrived. One of them was the blind man. "Go in," he shouted at the men. They found the dead captain and the sea chest upstairs. One man opened the window of the captain's room. "Pew, the chest is open," he told the blind man. "Is the packet of papers there?" said Pew. "We can't see it." "The boy has got it," said Pew. "Look for them, you dogs. Find them and we'll all be rich." "But we can take some money and go, Pew," said one man. Now the blind man was very angry. He tried to hit the other pirates with his stick. Then I heard the sound of horses. The pirates ran away very fast. In a minute there was only Pew on the road. "Don't leave me, mates," he shouted. Some men on horses came down the hill. Pew tried to run away, but he couldn't see. He fell down, he got up, he ran. but he ran into one of the horses and he was killed. The men on the horses were police officers. With them was the boy from the village. "What did these pirates want?" one of the officers asked. I replied, "I think they wanted this." And I showed him the packet of papers. "I want to give it to Dr. Livesey." "Yes, he's a good man. I'll take you to his house." Dr. Livesey was at the hall, Squire Trelawney's big house. The two men were in the library. "Good evening, Jim," said the doctor. "What are you doing here?" I told them everything. Then I gave the packet of papers to the doctor, and he put it in his pocket. After the officer left, he said to the squire, "Have you heard of a pirate called Captain Flint?" "Yes, a terrible man. The Spanish were very afraid of him." "Did he have any money?" "Don't you know the story of Flint's treasure? Nobody knows where he buried it." "Very well," said the doctor, and he opened the packet. There were two things in it, a book and a piece of paper. On the first page of the book was the name Billy Bones, mate. Then there were a lot of dates and sums of money. "This is an account book," the doctor said. "It shows how much money that buccaneer Billy Bones got." Then he opened the paper. It was a map of an island, about 9 miles long and 5 miles wide. There were 2 big harbors and a hill called the Spyglass. There were also 3 crosses, 2 on the north part of the island and 1 in the southwest. Next to this one were the words, "A lot of the treasure here." "Livesey," said Mr. Trelawney happily, "tomorrow I'm going to Bristol to buy a ship and find some men. Hawkins, you'll be the cabin boy. You, Livesey, are the ship's doctor. We'll find the treasure, and we'll all be rich." The doctor answered, "Jim and I will go with you. But the pirates also know about this paper, and they want the treasure. So we mustn't say a word about this map." "Livesey, you're right," said the squire. "I won't say a word." Chapter 3. Long John Silver. The squire went to Bristol, and I lived at the hall with Redruth, his servant. The weeks passed. Then a letter arrived from Squire Trelawney. It said that the ship was ready. Its name was Hispaniola, and it was a very good ship. But there were problems. The squire could find only 4 men. Then he met a man called Long John Silver, a seaman, and gave him a job as cook on the ship. The letter continued. "He has only got 1 leg, but he's a fine man. He found some men for me. They're good, strong men. Now we've got a crew, and I want to begin our voyage immediately. So come to Bristol quickly, Hawkins, with Redruth." The next morning Redruth and I traveled to Bristol. It was a wonderful city and a big port with lots of ships. I was very excited because I was going to sail to an island and find buried treasure. When we saw the squire, he said, "The doctor is here. We're sailing tomorrow." Then he sent me to the Spyglass Inn with a note for John Silver. I knew Long John when I saw him because he had 1 leg. He was about 50, but very tall and strong. I remembered the old captain's words at the Admiral Benbow. "Tell me when you see a sailor with 1 leg." Was that sailor Long John Silver? "Mr. Silver, sir?" "Yes, my boy. And who are you?" Then he saw the note in my hand. "Oh, you're our new cabin boy. Hello." At that moment a man ran out of the inn. I knew his face. "Stop him!" I shouted. "It's Black Dog. He's a pirate." "What?" Silver said. "A pirate here in my inn. I don't know his name, but I think I saw him here with a blind man." "Yes, I know that blind man. His name was Pew. I looked at Long John. Black Dog was here at his inn. I thought, is Black Dog his friend? Was Pew his friend? Are the other buccaneers his friends? But John Silver was a clever man. He smiled at me and he said, "Look, Hawkins, this is bad for me. Black Dog was here and Squire Trelawney will think I'm a bad man. I'll come with you and talk to him." When Long John told the squire and Dr. Livesey about Black Dog, they believed him and thought that he was an honest man. "We're sailing at 4 o'clock this afternoon, Silver," the squire told him. "Aye, aye, sir," said the cook, and he went away. When we went on board the Hispaniola, the captain of the ship was angry. He wanted to speak to the squire. "What is it, Captain Smollett?" said Mr. Trelawney. "I must tell you that I don't like this voyage. I don't like the men, and I don't like my officer." The squire was very angry, but Dr. Livesey said, "Why don't you like this voyage, Captain?" "The squire didn't tell me that we are going to look for treasure. I heard about it from the men. I don't like treasure voyages. They are dangerous, very dangerous." "I understand," the doctor said. "But why don't you like the crew? Aren't they all good seamen?" "Perhaps," replied the captain, "but I don't like them." "All right. In your opinion, Captain, what must we do?" "First, you must put the guns, the powder, and the ammunition near this cabin. Second, there are 4 good men, your men, Squire. They can sleep here, near your cabin." When Captain Smollett went out, the doctor said, "Trelawney, you have 2 honest men on this ship, Captain Smollett and John Silver." "John Silver, yes," said the squire angrily, "but not the captain, not him." When Long John Silver came on board, he said, "What's happening, mates?" "We're putting the guns and ammunition near the squire's cabin," answered one of the men. "Why?" Just then the captain arrived. "My orders," he said. "Now go down and cook the supper, my man." "Aye, aye, sir," answered Long John, and he went to the kitchen. "He's a good man," the doctor said to the captain. "Perhaps, sir." Then the captain saw me and said, "Go down to the kitchen and help the cook." I really didn't like Captain Smollett. Early in the morning the ship was ready, and we began our voyage to the island of treasure. John Silver could move very fast around the ship on his one leg. His friend Israel Hands told me, "He's very courageous, like a lion." All the men liked him. He did his work well. To me he was always kind, and he was always happy when I came to the kitchen. In one corner he had a parrot in a cage. "Welcome, Jim," he said one day. "My parrot, Captain Flint, says our voyage will be good." "Pieces of 8, pieces of 8, said the parrot. "You know, that bird is maybe 200 years old," Long John said, and he gave it some sugar. "She has sailed to many places, Madagascar, Malabar," and he told me wonderful stories about Captain Flint. I liked John Silver very much, and I thought he was a very good man. Captain Smollett was happy with the Hispaniola, and now he also said that the men were good, but he didn't know the voyage for treasure, and he didn't like the squire, so the squire didn't like him. One evening, just before we arrived at Treasure Island, I wanted to eat an apple before I went to bed. The apples were in some big barrels on deck. In one barrel there weren't many apples, so I climbed into it. I ate an apple, but I was very tired and I fell asleep. I woke up when I heard John Silver's voice. He was very near the barrel. I heard only a few words, and then I began to tremble. "Flint was my captain," said Long John to a young man called Dick. "We were all pirates, me and Pew and the others. I lost my leg and Pew lost his eyes. But I put a lot of money in the bank. Look at Pew. He was rich, and then he became poor. And where is he now? Dead. And where are Flint's men now? Well, a lot of them are on this ship." I trembled when I heard this. "I'm 50 years old," Silver continued. "After this voyage, I'm going to live like a gentleman. You can be rich too, Dick, if you help old Long John. What do you say, my boy? Give me your hand." Now I understood. This young man was honest, but now he was one of Silver's men. Then I heard the voice of Israel Hands, Silver's friend. "Look, I want to know something. How long must we wait? I want to kill that Captain Smollett. But when, Silver? When?" "You're not very clever, Israel," answered Silver. "You must wait. I'll tell you when. The squire and the doctor have got the map. They'll find the treasure and put it on the ship. For us. So we'll wait." "But," said Dick, "what will we do with the captain, the squire, and the doctor?" "That's a good question," the cook answered. "Well, what do you think? We can leave them on the island or we can kill them. Flint and Billy Bones always killed people. So I say to you, mates, wait, and then kill them. Dick, get me an apple from this barrel." I felt very afraid when I heard this, but I couldn't move. Dick came near the barrel. Then Israel Hands said, "Don't eat those bad apples. Let's drink some rum." When Dick returned with the rum, the pirates drank. Then a voice shouted, "Land ho!" Chapter 4. The Island. The pirates ran to look at the land. Quickly I climbed out of the barrel and followed them. In the light of the moon, we could see 2 hills. "Who knows this land?" Captain Smollett asked the crew. "Me, sir," said Long John. The captain showed him a map of the island. "Is this the place?" Long John looked at the map with big eyes. But it wasn't the map from Billy Bones's chest. It was a copy, and there weren't any red crosses on it. Silver was angry, but he didn't show it. He smiled. "Yes, sir, this is the place." I wanted to tell my story to the captain, the squire, and the doctor. When Dr. Livesey asked me to go to the cabin and bring his pipe and tobacco, I said, "Doctor, I must speak to you. I have terrible news." The doctor's face changed, but he said, "Thank you, Jim. Go down to the cabin now." And then he went to the squire and the captain and spoke to them quietly. "Men," the captain said to the crew, "the doctor and I are going down to the cabin to drink some wine." Down in the cabin, I told them everything about Silver's conversation. They looked at me. They didn't move or speak. When I stopped, Mr. Trelawney said to the captain, "You were right and I was wrong. What can we do?" "We've got time because Silver is clever and he'll wait," said the captain. "I think we must attack the pirates first. How many men have we got?" "7, including Jim," said the doctor. "How many honest men are there in the crew?" "There are the 4 men that the squire found before he met Silver," the captain said. "But," said Mr. Trelawney, "Israel Hands was one of them. Well, we don't know how many men are good." "Jim can help us," said Dr. Livesey. "The men like him and talk to him. He can tell us who is honest or bad." There were only 7 men out of 26, and I was only a boy. So there were 6 adult men against 19 pirates. Next morning, I looked at the island. I saw tall trees and yellow sand. The hills were high, but Spyglass Hill was very high. Our ship went towards a small island called Skeleton Island. The men prepared the boats. It was hot and they didn't like the work. They spoke angrily. We knew they wanted to kill us. But Long John smiled and spoke to them and sang. He helped to take the ship into the big harbor between Skeleton Island and Treasure Island. The captain, the doctor, Mr. Trelawney and I went to the cabin. We gave pistols to the 3 honest men, Hunter, Joyce, and Red Ruth. Then the captain went on deck and told the crew that they could go on the island for the afternoon. "Hooray!" shouted the men. They were happy now. They thought that the treasure was already in their hands. 6 men stayed on the ship. 13, including Silver, got into the boats. Then I had a crazy idea. I decided to go to the island in one of the boats. I didn't say anything to the doctor and the squire. When I climbed into the boat, nobody saw me. My boat arrived first. I got out and ran fast into the trees. A long way behind me, Long John Silver shouted, "Jim! Jim!" But I ran and ran. I stopped and looked around me. There were strange trees and flowers and birds. The sun was hot. I could see Spyglass Hill in front of me. Then I heard voices and I went behind a tree. One of the voices was John Silver's. Now I was very afraid. I thought, "Jim, you were stupid to come to the island with these pirates, but you must help the doctor and the others." So I moved towards the pirates on my hands and knees. "Tom," said Silver, "I like you, mate, and I want to help you." The other man answered, "Silver, you're honest. I'm sure you don't want to be with these bad pirates. Not you." So this Tom was one of the honest men. Suddenly there was a long, terrible scream. It came from far away. "What was that, John?" said Tom. Long John smiled. That was Alan. He's dead now." "They've killed Alan," Tom said. "John Silver, you were my friend, but not now. Kill me too, if you can." Then brave Tom walked away with his back to the cook. But he didn't go far. Silver held the branch of a tree and he threw his crutch. It hit Tom's back like a missile. He fell, and in a moment Silver killed him with his knife. I couldn't believe it. Now 2 honest men were dead. Then Silver called the other pirates. I ran away very fast. I thought, they'll kill me. Goodbye to the Hispaniola. Goodbye to the squire, the doctor, and the captain. I was very near Spyglass Hill. There were a lot of trees around me like a forest. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind a tree. What was it? I didn't know, and I stopped in terror. Behind me were the pirates. In front of me was this thing. I preferred the pirates, and I began to run back. But the thing began to run too. It ran from tree to tree, on 2 legs. It was a man. Was he a cannibal? I took my pistol, and I walked towards him. Slowly, he moved from behind a tree, and he came towards me. Then suddenly, he fell on his knees, and he put his hands towards me. I asked him who he was. "Ben Gunn." He answered in a strange voice. I saw that he was a white man. His eyes were blue, but his face was very dark from the sun. His clothes were old and dirty. He said, "You're the first Christian I've seen for 3 years." "What happened?" I asked. "I was marooned." I knew this was a horrible thing. The buccaneers left him on the island, to live or to die. "What's your name, mate?" he asked. I told him, "Well, Jim, many years ago I was a good boy like you, but then I became bad, and I drank a lot of rum, and here I am on this desert island." Then he looked around him and said in a quiet voice, "Jim, I'm rich." I thought, "He's crazy, poor man." Rich, rich, I tell you. But wait, Jim. Is that Flint's ship down there? No, Flint is dead, but some of the crew are Flint's men. "A man with one leg?" Ben Gunn asked, very frightened. "Yes, John Silver. He's the cook and the chief of the pirates." Then I told him about our voyage and our difficult situation. He said, "Well, Ben Gunn will help you. And then, do you think your squire will help me, perhaps?" "Yes, he's a gentleman." "And will he take me to England on the ship?" "Oh, yes, I'm sure." "Good," Ben Gunn said happily. "I'll tell you something. I was on Flint's ship when he buried the treasure, with 6 big, strong seamen. Then he killed the 6 seamen. Well, Billy Bones and Long John asked him where the treasure was, but he didn't tell them. Then, 3 years ago, I was on another ship near this island. 'Boys, let's go and find Flint's treasure,' I said. But we couldn't find it. So the other men were angry with me and they left me on the island. You must tell the squire all this. Tell him I'm not a pirate, eh, Jim? Tell him I'm a good man." "But how can I said. "I can't go on the ship now." "True," he said. "But I've got a boat, Jim. I made it with my 2 hands. It's under the White Rock." At that moment there was a great sound of cannons. "The battle has begun," I said. "Quick, follow me." And I began to run towards the harbor where the Hispaniola was. Ben Gunn came with me. We could hear the sounds of a battle. Then I saw the British flag, the Union Jack, in the air above the trees. Chapter 5. The doctor continues the story. After the 2 boats left the Hispaniola, the captain, the squire, and I talked in the cabin. Then Hunter came and told us that Jim Hawkins was on the island with the pirates. "Poor Jim," said the squire. "They'll find him and kill him." We ran on deck and saw the 2 boats near a river with 2 men in them. We decided to go to the island. But first we looked at the map. There was a stockade on it. "Hunter," I said, "you and I will go and find this stockade." We got into a boat. The 2 pirates near the river saw us, but they didn't do anything. We went towards the beach where the stockade was. When we arrived, I got out of the boat and ran fast into the trees. The stockade was there, on top of a small hill. Inside, there was a large wooden cabin with holes in the walls for guns. Around the cabin was a high wall made of wood. With food and water, we could stay in this stockade, safe from the pirates. Then I heard a terrible sound. It was the cry of a person at the moment of death. Jim Hawkins, poor boy, I thought. They've killed him. And I was very sad. When we arrived back at the ship, the others also thought Jim was dead. Then we put lots of things in the boat: guns, powder, ammunition, meat, biscuits, and cognac. There were 6 pirates on board. One of them was Israel Hands. With 2 pistols in his hands, the captain called him. "Don't do anything stupid, Hands, or we'll kill you." The 6 men ran away and hid in another part of the ship. When our boat was ready, we all got in and went towards the island. The men in the boat saw us, and one of them ran to tell Long John Silver. At the stockade, we put the things in the cabin. Then the captain, Red Ruth, and I went back to the Hispaniola and took more provisions. We worked very fast. Then the captain called to one of the pirates on the ship. "Gray," he said, "you're a good man, I know. Come with us. You've got 30 seconds. There was silence. Then we heard sounds of a fight, and suddenly Abraham Gray ran towards us. "I'm with you, sir," he said. Our boat was small. There were 5 men and a lot of things in it. The current was different now. It took us away from our beach. "We will never arrive at the stockade," I said. "Look, behind us, on the ship," said the captain. The 5 men on the ship were busy with a big cannon. They were going to fire at us. "Mr. Trelawney," said the captain, "shoot Israel Hands." The squire fired his gun, but he didn't kill Hands. One of the other men fell. Now we saw a lot of pirates in one of the boats near the river. "The pirates are coming," said the captain. "Only one of the boats is coming," I said. "Perhaps the other pirates are running to the stockade." "Perhaps," the captain said. "But I'm frightened of that cannon. They're going to fire it." We were very near the beach when the pirates fired. The cannonball passed over our heads. Then our boat went under the water. At that moment we heard some pirates in the woods. They were very near the stockade, where there were only 2 men, Hunter and Joyce. "Hurry, hurry," said the captain, and we ran quickly up the little hill towards the stockade. But the buccaneers were just behind us. 7 of them ran fast towards us. The squire and I fired our pistols and killed one of them, but Tom Redruth was shot. We took him into the stockade and put him on the floor of the cabin, and there brave Redruth died. We were all very sad. Suddenly a cannonball exploded inside the stockade. All that evening, ball after ball fell, but they didn't hit us. Israel Hands couldn't see the stockade, but he could see the Union Jack above the cabin. That was dangerous. "We must take it down, Captain," said the squire. But the captain said no. 2 men went to the beach to bring the things from our boat. But the pirates were already there, and they were taking our things. The captain wrote in his logbook, "There are 6 of us now: Captain Smollett, Dr. Livesey, Abraham Gray, Squire Trelawney, John Hunter, and Richard Joyce. We came to this stockade on Treasure Island, and we have got provisions for 10 days. Thomas Redruth, the squire's servant, was shot by the buccaneers. Jim Hawkins, cabin boy." Chapter 6. Jim Hawkins continues the story. When Ben Gunn saw the Union Jack, he stopped. "That's Flint's old stockade," he said. "Are your friends there?" "I don't know," I replied. "Perhaps it's the pirates." "No, their flag is the Jolly Roger. It's your friends." "Good. Now I can go to them," I said. "Are you coining with me?" "No, mate. Old Ben Gunn isn't stupid. First you must tell the squire about me, and he must promise to help me. Tell him to come and find me." "All right, I'm going now." In different directions. For an hour a lot of cannonballs fell. I was very frightened and stayed in the woods. In the evening I arrived at the beach, and I saw the Hispaniola with the black Jolly Roger, the pirate's flag. The bombardment stopped. I waited for a while, and then I decided to go to the stockade. When I stood up, I saw a high white rock in some trees near the sea. "That's Ben Gunn's white rock," I thought. "Now I know where his boat is." Then I ran to the stockade. I told my story to my friends in the cabin. When I finished, it was evening, and the wind was cold. I was very tired, but the captain gave us all some work. 2 men went to find wood for the fire, and the doctor cooked some food. I was a guard at the door. After a while, the doctor talked to me about Ben Gunn. He wanted to know where he was. He said, I've got a piece of Italian Parmesan cheese. It's very good. I'd like to give it to Ben Gunn." After our dinner, we talked. There was only a little food, so we knew that we must kill the pirates quickly. We could hear them. They were sitting by the river about half a mile away. They were singing round a fire. I was very tired and I fell asleep. When I woke up, there were voices. "Look, it's Long John Silver," somebody said. "He's coming here with a white flag. He wants to talk." The captain said, "Stay here, men. Guns ready." Then he called to the pirate. "What do you want?" "Captain Silver wants to speak to you," said John Silver. "Captain Silver? I don't know him. Who's he?" "The men said I'm captain now. After you left the ship, sir. Can we talk?" "I don't want to talk with you, Silver. You can come in if you want, but don't try to do anything stupid." "I give you my word, sir." So Silver threw his crutch over the wall. He only had one leg, but he climbed into the stockade very well. Then he came up the small hill and arrived at the cabin. The captain told him to sit down. "On the sand?" Silver said. "Yes, on the sand, Silver. You can't come into the cabin. Now, what do you want to say?" Long John sat down. "You did very well last night, Captain. My men and I were very surprised. You came and killed one of them. He was full of rum and he was asleep. But you won't do it again, Captain." The captain didn't understand this, but I remembered Ben Gunn. "Did he kill one of the pirates last night?" "Well, now there were only 13 of them." Silver continued, "You've got the map. We want it, Captain." The captain smoked his pipe calmly. "We know that, my man, but you can't have it." Long John was angry, but he smoked his pipe too. "Now here's my idea, Captain," he said. "You give us the map. When we get the treasure on the ship, you can sail with us. I give you my word that you'll be safe, but if you don't like that idea, you can stay here and we'll give you some of our food. When I see a ship, I'll tell the captain to come here. What do you say, Captain Smollett?" "Is that all?" the captain said. "Now you listen to me, Silver. You must come here with all your pirates, and without any guns. I promise I'll take you to England for a fair trial. If you don't do this, we'll kill you, all of you. Now go, quickly." Silver was furious. He stood up with his crutch. "You dogs! You're laughing now, but I'm coming back with my men. We'll kill you all." After he went out of the stockade, the captain spoke to us. "In an hour, Silver will come back with his men," he said. "There are 13 of them. We are 6, and Jim. But we can beat them. Hawkins, eat your breakfast. Hunter, brandy for everyone. Trelawney, put out the fire. Doctor, you will be at the door. Hunter, you will be on the east side of the cabin. Joyce, west. Trelawney, you and Gray go to the north side. Hawkins, you and I will load the guns." An hour passed. We waited nervously. Then Joyce suddenly saw the pirates and fired his gun. The pirates fired at us. Then they stopped. All was quiet again. "How many shots did you see, Doctor?" asked the captain. "3. "Mr. Trelawney?"